5 alligators in Mississippi were euthanized after it was discovered that they were fed by people. Although those responsible were held accountable, the animals were still put down. Parks Canada officials put down a wolf that had grown too accustomed to human food left out in tent camps. A fox in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park was euthanized after receiving food from humans. Alaska authorities had to euthanize a moose after a woman posted a video showing her feeding it. In British Columbia, authorities spent 2 months tracking down and putting down a coyote after it got a taste of human food. I'm pretty sure people were outraged on social media about why the animals were put to sleep, criticizing the authorities and so on. So why is it that wild animals fed by humans are always destined to die? Let's find out now. Ever wanted to master the art of being subtle? Well, here's your chance to learn. Could you kindly give this video a thumbs up? Or else you might forget to do it. Let's start with polar bears. These majestic predators are well known to everyone and are associated with snow and ice, as they've evolved to thrive in such conditions. Their main food source is seals, but seals are tricky to catch on land. To do so, polar bears need ice floes. They climb onto them and hunt seals. The problem is that ice isn't sticking around as long as it used to. It still melts away in the summer as it should, but lately the intervals when there's ice are getting shorter. This means polar bears have less time to hunt for seals. Good news, polar bears have a flexible approach to finding food, and their diet on land includes berries and plants. But here's the thing. Witnesses report that polar bears drink hydraulic fluid when it's drained from forklifts, chew on snowplow seats, and even nibble on lead-acid batteries. That's why experts say these animals will eat just about anything. The question is, does such food have any nutritional value at all? Unfortunately, even if we ignore obviously inedible items, the rest requires more energy expenditure than it provides. And this is even assuming polar bears try to eat everything precisely to avoid expending energy on finding something truly filling. Grass growing on the shore? Perfect, let's munch on it. It's not a good sign when polar bears start eating this way. They're losing about 1.3 pounds every day. As a result, many bears that come ashore too early simply slowly starve to death. Their only hope is that they've stored up enough fat from the winter. However, there are some caveats here as well. Firstly, some white bears go into hibernation during winter. Not every year and not for the whole winter, but they do go into hibernation. Secondly, they usually accumulate the majority of their annual fat stores in the spring. That's during the time period that's recently been greatly reduced. Bears just don't manage to eat enough. Given that an adult animal requires up to 5 seals per week, it's easy to see why the animal won't last long on just grass and berries. After that, it's only natural to wonder, why not help the poor animals? Can't we figure out a way to feed the polar bears? Maybe, but it might just make matters worse. Tourists actively fed the young black bear to make sure it didn't go hungry, and they even took selfies with it. But sadly, this ended in the bear's death. White bears won't find much help from their vulnerable status. In 2022 in Canada, police shot a bear that wandered into a Quebec settlement hundreds of miles south of its usual habitat. The problem is quite clear actually. The more food bears get from people, the more likely they are to lose their natural fear of us. Feeding issues aren't just a problem with bears. Lately, the staff at Savannah National Wildlife Refuge have had to resort to killing alligators that grow longer than 6 feet more often. It's because these animals aren't just aggressive, they also associate humans with food. And people keep feeding them. Now, imagine the danger posed by a huge alligator heading your way, thinking it's about to get a tasty treat. Even the squirrels who are used to being fed end up biting more people than any other animal in Grand Canyon National Park. Yes, squirrels. It's not just about harm to humans. Take bears, for example. Those that eat human food spend 42 days less in hibernation compared to their counterparts. This lack of sleep accelerates their aging process, making them age faster than bears that stick to their natural diet. Human food affects bears' activity levels. Bears that eat naturally spend around 13 hours a day searching for food. However, bears fed by humans or those scavenging garbage only spend around 8.5 hours a day searching for food. Less movement leads to more weight gain. An average adult male black bear typically weighs up to 290 pounds. However, those fed by humans can reach weights of 400 pounds or more, with some even topping 600 pounds. While obesity isn't a health concern for bears since their bodies can handle the extra weight, interactions with humans ultimately lead to their demise. Also, when bears consume human food, it reduces the variety of microorganisms in their digestive system. So even if they switch back to their natural diet, they can't extract all the nutrients anymore. For instance, they struggle to break down fiber. Human food seriously ruins bears' health. So even if you take such a bear far away from people, there's no guarantee it can fully recover. These issues are pretty much global and affect all animals. In Australia, for instance, tourists are constantly warned not to feed wild animals, even if they seem friendly. Kangaroos in the western part of the country literally get sick from eating human food. It's clear why people are attracted to kangaroos. They're a popular attraction, and kangaroos appear to enjoy human company. Tourists often share snacks with them, such as bananas, nuts, carrots, bread, and even chocolate. However, kangaroos have a highly sensitive digestive system, like cows, and their diet is predominantly plant-based, so all these human treats really don't fit into their diet at all. Some people even feed kangaroos fast food. Eventually, animals just can't digest all of this, get sick, and ultimately die. If this doesn't happen, kangaroos stop seeking out their natural food and passing on their hunting skills to their offspring. As a result, the young joeys, with no generous tourists around, go hungry, leading to a decline in the population and other unpleasant consequences. Eating human food wears down kangaroos' teeth fast, making it hard for them to eat their usual meals. This leads to hunger and eventually death. And of course, there's a sprinkle of aggression. It might sound strange, but kangaroos become hooked on carrots, simply because they're sweet, and the animal demands that people give them these carrots, and if their demands aren't met, kangaroos lash out. Still keen on feeding wild animals? Let's keep going. The result of feeding kangaroos is pretty much as expected. Just like with other animals, when kangaroos attack humans, they have to be shot. Let's hop over to England, where a few deer have been found dead. It seems they fell victim to human kindness because people fed the animals with stuff that wasn't quite right. It might sound strange, but bread can actually be harmful to deer. Mostly it affects their metabolism. As winter's coming, deer naturally slow down their metabolism to pack on weight before the cold sets in, reducing their need for food. However, the carbohydrates in bread keep their systems revved up. Their metabolism simply can't slow down, which means in winter, deer end up needing far more food than they can find. Bread can disrupt the gut bacteria of wild animals and even lead to health issues. Plus, these animals start seeing people as a snack source, hanging around roads more and increasing their chances of getting hit by cars. This happens with pretty much all wild animals that humans decide to feed. Diseases are a whole different story. Even a simple deer feeder set up in someone's backyard turns into a hot spot for spreading diseases and parasites. It's no surprise, really, when you've got a crowd gathering around that feeder. Scientists even suspect that's how the deadly disease in deer, known as chronic wasting disease, spreads. You know, the one that turns deer into zombies? Diseases like canine distemper, parvovirus, leptospirosis, and avian pox can spread in feeding areas. Also, animals will keep eating food even when it's bad for them, and they'll eat a ton of it. Guess what happens next? They die. It's been observed that deer and moose can succumb to an excess of corn in their stomachs. Even bighorn rams can't handle human food. It seems like this stuff isn't good for anyone, except us humans. Also, deer that have tasted something tasty start looking for people, leave the forests, venture into cities. Meanwhile, predators like wolves and coyotes must also change their habits to find food. Their usual lunch is literally moving to another place, chasing carrots and bread. Thus, the entire forest ecosystem is impacted simply because some kind soul decided to give Bambi a tasty treat. Even the forests suffer from this. How does the wild nature work? Deer roam around looking for food, and along the way they spread various seeds everywhere with their droppings. But if deer are fed by humans, they stay in one place, which means no seed spreading, and it's lucky if there are any seeds at all. Another thing is that animals crowding around feeders tend to fight more often. This leads to increased aggression towards each other, more frequent injuries, serious wounds, and ultimately death. Even if a deer survives, the constant fights and competition raise stress levels in the body. Eventually, its immune system weakens, making the animal more susceptible to illnesses, and as you remember, there are more diseases there than anywhere else. Look, if you really want to help wild animals, don't go setting up feeders. Seriously, just let the deer and others be, because all this help from humans is doing more harm than good. Sometimes it's even deadly. It doesn't matter which wild animal we're talking about. Also, never feed a wolf, no matter what. Wolves in the wild are naturally timid creatures and tend to steer clear of humans. Yet, similar to bears, their behavior can change when exposed to human food. Most unprovoked attacks by healthy wild wolves are usually the result of them getting used to food that isn't meant for them. This issue is widespread in many national parks where wolves roam. Despite bans and pleas to not leave food at campsites, people still do it, causing harm to the animals. Wolves that lose their fear of humans pose too great a risk, so they have to be put down. In Australia, the same issue exists with dingoes. They often feast on human leftovers, start associating humans with food, and, well, you can imagine the rest. So once again, even if you think giving tasty treats to wild animals is a kind gesture, it's not. Remember, wild animals are perfectly capable of finding their own food. They don't need our help in finding food. Moreover, even safe human food can be harmful to animals. For example, the fruits we eat contain too much sugar due to cultivation. That's why the Melbourne Zoo decided to remove fruits from the animals' diet. Red pandas and primates were gaining weight, and some also showed signs of tooth decay. Even urban animals like rats and squirrels in parks aren't used to our food. It doesn't just make them sick, but they also gain weight too quickly. And when you're small, being overweight just means you're more likely to get eaten. Well, or you might just get stuck somewhere. Let's talk about this little squirrel that sneaked into the bird feeder and ate so much it got stuck. It had a hard time moving around, even when a person poked it. Any other squirrel would have bolted by now. Being this close and helpless means she'd be an easy meal for someone, but this overeating squirrel couldn't care less. It's stuffed. This chubby rat got stuck in a sewer grate in Germany, requiring a whole team of firefighters to rescue it. Lucky break? Definitely. But if it had been munching on regular rat food, this whole situation might never have happened. The problem is that human food is not only easier to find, but also more delicious. However, it doesn't have the essential nutrients animals need, so they end up eating without getting the energy they require. Most human food fills animals with empty carbs, which don't really help them stay alive. As a result, they feel weaker, get sick, can't avoid dangers, and die. Honestly, this whole video feels like one big PSA for people, but I'll say it again. Don't feed wild animals. And if animals were watching this, I'd say, don't eat human food. Regrettably, our collective lack of awareness often results in tragic consequences. Let's fix that. Don't forget not to feed wild animals, and don't forget to hit the like button right now. See you later.